Make sure that the replacement part for your S6 comes with the pre-installed adhesive that you see here on the back. If not, you'll have to buy that adhesive separately, and it's kind of a pain to install. If you need any of the parts or the tools that are used in this video, see the description or visit gocellphonerepair.com/S6. When you pry the panel off, watch out for these areas. There are some flexible cables around the edges, and your NFC is that big rectangular black piece that you see in the center. These can easily be torn if you pry too far inside. I'm going to assume that your back panel is already broken, but you'll still want to be careful when removing it so that you don't break it into smaller pieces. It'll make less of a mess that way and be easier to get all of the debris out from inside the phone. So what I'm going to do is start by heating this with a heat gun. I like to get these a little bit warmer than usual, so normally we aim for warm to the touch, but not hot enough to burn you. I'd want to get that a little bit higher in this situation, but just around the edges, especially the first place that we're going to be prying, which you'll see is over here on the right-hand side of the phone, just across from where it says Galaxy S6. Once you have it warmed up, the easiest thing that I've used to pry these open with is a flat razor blade like the one that you see here. Now I've dulled the edge of this so it's not sharp enough to really cut me unless I push really hard. And as you can see, what I'm doing is more of a lifting under the edge rather than kind of jamming the razor down inside. Now I did at one point just kind of slide the corner in because I felt a bit of an opening there where it went in easily. And that's what you want to look for. If you can get it underneath like that and start to pry it, just continuously add heat while you're working on it, and it'll usually come off without making a big mess or breaking into a bunch of pieces. I'm using a very thin nylon guitar pick here. I believe this is about a 0.73 millimeter. You can also use something like a playing card. Those tend to work very well because they're coated with plastic on the outside, so they slide through easily. But of course, they're not going to be quite as rigid, so a lot of times they start to bend. And you don't want to hit your pry tool with the heat gun because if you do, it's going to become more flexible and it gets more difficult to pry off the back. As you can see, what I'm going to do is continuously heat the edges and just kind of work around slowly on the perimeter of the back of the phone. And then that way we can kind of loosen up the outer adhesive that goes around the edges that I showed you earlier on. So once we kind of get all the way around this thing, it's going to be a lot easier to work with. As you can see, I don't really pry in very deep, and towards the end I could kind of get my fingernails underneath the edge of this, and then I just continue to apply heat. Now this is one that I was trying to preserve the adhesive on underneath. Hopefully you won't have to worry about that. I wanted to keep this adhesive, and then I found out later on that's not really practical because the adhesive itself covers up the screws, and pretty much you have to tear this thing off, and trying to get it back on there in one piece is not going to be easy. So again, the pre-installed adhesive is the best, and if you are just replacing the cover or removing the cover for a repair rather, you'll want to have the pre-cut adhesive. It's a lot easier to work with. Still not a lot of fun, but easier to work with than cutting this stuff by hand. As far as installing the new back, it's pretty straightforward. You just want to make sure that you removed all of the residual adhesive that's on the inside of the phone, any broken glass or any foreign debris that's not supposed to be there. Once you're sure that you have everything cleaned off in the inside, carefully remove this plastic, and then you just set it down. And again, make sure that everything's straight, and I always go around the perimeter, make sure it's lined up properly, because once you push it down, if you start lifting it up, you're going to weaken that adhesive bond. And after you've got this fully installed, it doesn't hurt to go over it again with the heat gun. That kind of seals this thing into place a little better. If you expose it to a high temperature outside, it's going to do the same thing over time. But for the most part, that's it. If you found the video helpful, like it, share it, check out my channel for more tutorials and product reviews, and most of all, remember to hit the subscribe button. Feel free to leave your feedback in the comments section, and thanks for watching.